Hello, hello all. Welcome to the Evening Standard Festival. And the show we're talking about needs absolutely no introduction. But I will begin by bringing on our guests today, starting with the creator, writer, and exec producer, Mr. Ronan Bennett. Please come on, sir.
Go.
Up to you. And the star and executive producer, Mr. Ashley Walters, please. And Araloyin, please come on. And Kweku Panti-Amoa, please. Please come on. And before we begin, Araloyin, let me just get my Nigeria pronouncement. How do I say your name before I embarrass myself?
Araloyin.
Araloyin?
Yeah.
Okay. We have that one. I know there's some aunties here that will say, what are you doing? So we're here to really have an intimate discussion about a show that's become a part of our lives, more than the term cultural phenomenon. It's really special to have all of you in here and to be able to meet the genesis, really, and also the future of the show. And I really wanted to start with the writer and creator, Ronan, and ask you why you chose to write this drama. And before you even begin that answer, context for a lot of people watching here is when we see a show like Top Boy and realize that the film industry doesn't always tell these stories, to see the man here to explain how he got here is something for any aspiring filmmakers to really, or storytellers to take note.
Well, for me, in some ways it's a no-brainer. I'm Irish. I grew up in a community that was in the north of Ireland that was itself discriminated against since the state of the north of Ireland was founded with the sole purpose of creating a majority, a Protestant pro-union majority, and the rest, which included people like me, were the outcasts and very much the second-class citizens. So when I came to England, when I came to London, it was already with an awareness of the American civil rights movement, the Black Power movement. And I came here, and frankly, I looked around and I saw what was going on, and I thought, well, I want to be friends with those people. Just, the famous sign, no Irish, no blacks, no dogs. Well, I've always liked all three. And so for me, I was obviously in any way attracted to those sorts of stories. And then living in Hackney, it didn't, you just need to keep your eyes open and your ears open, and you see what, you get a sense of the lives that are going on around your little safe bubble. There are other lives, difficult, like hard lives. I saw a kid on the street. I talked to him. He was dealing drugs. He I don't know, 10, 12 years old, and it went from there.
And I'm guessing you didn't just walk into production companies and they threw money at you with this idea. How hard did you have to fight to get this off the ground?
Well, of course, it wasn't easy. The first place I went to actually was the BBC, because a friend of mine that I'd worked with there before was a commissioning editor there. He understood immediately what I was trying to do. In those days, the commissioning editors could commission a script. They could get that going. Now it has to all be.
Yeah, they had the power then.
Yeah, they had the power. He did it because he completely understood it. He was Irish, by the way, and but when I wrote the pilot and brought it into the BBC to the head of drama, he just didn't get it. I mean, it was so far removed from his experience. He just didn't get it. And there was a line, sort of how comical it was. There was a line I used in the first episode of where one of the characters refers to a woman as a MILF, and the producer, the head of drama at that time looked at it and said, "Well, we can't have that word in there." And I was thinking, well, if you can't have that word in there, we're not going to get very far. with this.
No.
And so they passed. I had the great good fortune to meet Charles Steele and Ali Flynn from Cowboy, and together we approached Channel 4. 2 successful series on Channel 4, but then the show was cancelled. But we knew we had gold. We knew this story had to be told, and we never gave up.
Thank you.
But no, not an easy. They're easier if you're a producer, if you're a writer, if you're a filmmaker, and you want to get something into production. There are easier
stories.
Topics to.
Yeah. I bet. Ashley, as a leading cast member and now executive producer, a lot of us here have grown up with you, and you have shown many of us that we are welcome in certain rooms that we think have been closed. So, what did it mean for you to decide that you wanted to be part of this show?
It meant a lot. I think before agreeing to be a part, well, not agreeing, actually battling through the casting process to get the job. But like when I actually got it, or actually on getting the script, I just felt that it was different to what I'd had before. Mm-hmm. I did a film called Bulletproof in like the early Bullet Boy in the early 2000s. And after doing that film and kind of the success that film had, every other role that I was being offered was the same.
Same thing, yeah.
And it got to the point, where I kind of said to my agent, I want to do different things. And she said, well, you're going to have to turn this stuff down and maybe not work for a while and just wait for those other roles to come. So I said, all right, cool. And there was a period of time of doing that and not working that much. And then the script came for Top Boy, and I read it. And for me, it was different. It was talking about similar worlds that I had before, but the characters were human in this script. And one thing that stood out to me was, after watching a lot of the mafia, kind of Italian mafia sort of films or whatever, there was like structure in this. There was hierarchy. There was kind of some sort of order, code or whatever. And I'd always seen kind of gangs and violence, and gang stories portrayed as just kind of reckless before. And this character had an idea that he wanted peace in the community. He wanted to bring everyone in. He wanted to find a way to make this work without people having to die and whatever. And I just felt that just stood out to me. So straight away I was kind of like, I have to be involved in this somehow. I never understood the beast that it would become, if I'm honest with you. And a lot of the time through season 1, shooting some scenes, like just imagine, we're shooting in Peckham, me and Kane cutting off Sway's finger in a market somewhere, like literally, with these garden tools. And I looked up at Kane and said, is this actually going to go on TV? It was like, because at that point there was nothing like this show, that was portrayed, like showing real life to that extent, and the things that were going on. So, I was really proud to be a part of it.
And from there, and I think both you and Kane are executive your producers now. How, I think a lot of people want to understand, how do you go from being a leading cast member to having much more influence on where the whole story goes?
I guess that was just more of a natural progression. I think, from being there from the start, it's been a long journey. Mm-hmm. I mean, how many years has it been?
12 years.
Yeah, about 12 years that we've all been involved. Like, we've grown up with each other. We've grown up with the show. So understanding our characters inside out, and more importantly, being kind of the elder statesman when it comes to all these new characters that are coming into the show. Mm-hmm. A lot of them that have never acted before, kind of taking them under our wing, so to speak. I wouldn't want to, we haven't trained them or anything, but, we make them feel comfortable. And we're kind of, as actors, probably the go-to guys on set when it comes to what they're going through and what their experience is. And then that developing into us kind of working with Ronan a lot when it comes to the storylines and, what we're trying to do and trying to shape the characters and where we see our characters going. So I guess that was just a natural
So it happened really
progression.
organically, it didn't? Okay.
Yeah, it did. I mean, I think this is, it's not something to... It happens quite a lot with shows that are long running, that go on for this amount of time, that the lead actors end up going into that position. But it just makes sense because they know the show, inside out.
Yeah. And that leads really nicely onto the casting. A lot of people have really enjoyed the casting that they've seen, and I think your work with Des Hamilton has really paid off in terms of having a really authentic feel. How did you go about with casting? And we have a prime example right here. How did you go through that process? Both of you, I guess.
Well, Des was involved in right from the start with season 1, the first Channel 4 season, and Des is quite unique among casting directors. I mean, there's nobody like Des when it comes to casting directors, and he had a feel for the streets. I guess the thing that probably Charles, Ali, and myself, as the producers of the show, looked for was that whoever we cast, we had to be convinced that they would really look and feel and sound as if they came from from that background. There are plenty of good actors who just didn't have that vibe about them, and it would have been wrong to cast them. So Des, literally, we did open casting sessions. He went around bus stops in the early things, handing out leaflets and saying, come along to it if you're interested.
So it's real street casting.
It's real street casting. Yeah, real street casting.
A lot of people, when such a big show, they would think you went.
Yes. But it's real. It was real street casting. Yeah.
Well, Araloyin, please tell us how you felt. I mean, when you realized that it wasn't just like something that, audition that would never happen. Obviously, you've grown up knowing the show. How did you feel when you got I don't know if it was an email or phone call, and there's like, yeah, it's yours?
When I first got told, I got it. Actually, I didn't get told I got it. I got told I didn't get it by my brother and my sister. So they lied to me saying I didn't get the role.
Oh, they pranked you?
Yeah, they pranked me. So, but bearing in mind, my mom told me outside already in the house saying, yeah, you got the role, but just don't tell them I told you. So
Okay.
when I got in, I just acted like, oh yeah, it's sad. But then I was buzzing inside because when I think of Top Boy, like I think of Ashley, I think of Kano, and I think of all the characters. So like, yeah, this is a big thing. Like, but in my head, I was thinking, am I actually gonna be in Top Boy, like a main character, like one of the main characters? And then when I went into the read-through, that's when I realized, okay, this is a big thing. And then I saw Drake, saw Ashley, I saw Santan, and I was thinking, yeah, like I didn't know what to say. Like
Casual Drake, Santan, Ashley.
Yeah, I was just buzzing, like very excited to be a part of something big. Yeah.
But what I love about this is that you're given the opportunity, and we've all seen you did the work. You really did the work. I am of an age where I don't remember seeing anyone your age with that type of role. I don't know if you remember growing up on a big TV show. So massive congratulations. And also tell us what the craft, of acting beyond the show, why do you love to act? I know you've been, doing other things as well. What does it mean to you to be able to be an actor?
I think it's really important to me because I think it's not about the acting itself. I think it's the people you meet.
Mm-hmm.
You meet a lot of great people. You meet a lot of connections, and I think acting has opened a big door for me to meet many people. And I think not just acting, but fashion, football. I've met a lot of people because of Top Boy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like very important to me because like I can do anything I want now.
Yep.
As long as I like put.
So
put in
you're
the work.
confident. Does it help with your confidence?
Yeah, it helps my confidence a lot, and it just makes me believe I can do anything as long as I put my mind to it, and there's someone behind me pushing me, making sure I don't quit.
You heard.
That's
You heard.
that's so touching. Yeah, yeah. I think that's what, like, just to jump in. That's one of the beauties of this show. Like, so many people have had that experience because we've always made a point of bringing in new talent and talent that just wouldn't regularly get an opportunity
Yep.
to sit in front of casting directors and whatever, and it's changed their lives. Like, you touched on it slightly, but it's a big thing to say that Araloyin now is doing other shows. Like he's moving. He's a fully fledged actor. Do you know what I mean? Which is good. And a lot of people come into the show without an agent. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Without having had any experience. And next year you're like, I'm seeing them on Instagram in Hollywood. Do you know what I mean? With people that I've not even met. Like, just
He's
do you know what I mean?
gone.
And they're gone. And that is just like, it's just beautiful to see.
Yep.
It's beautiful to hear and see.
And again, you guys just you never stop doing the work. And what I mean is, Kweku is a graduate of the Top Boy mentorship program, and I'd love you to explain to everyone what that is. But before we do that, how did you come about with the idea of the mentorship?
Well, when we were shooting the first Channel 4 season, there were, finding available diverse talent was hard because there just weren't that many people available. DPs, directors. There just weren't that many. This is going back 10, 11 years.
Yeah.
There weren't that many, and there weren't that many who were available. And when the first Netflix season got underway, we introduced. We thought this is something we can address, we can help, and we started a mentee scheme for directors, so people who shadowed directors. And in fact, two of our mentees who were shadowing directors in the Netflix season 1, Kobe and Miriam, have stepped up for the season we've just shot, and they've done their own episodes. Kobe's done 2, Miriam's done 1. So we did directors, and that process has continued. We've done DPs as well, cameramen and women. We've done them, and we also, as Kweku, I first met Kweku, in fact, on set in Dalston, I think it was. And I arrived, and this young man came up to me and said, "Can I help you?" And he was a runner, and I said, "Well, just here." And Kweku has now stepped up from running to on the producer mentee scheme. So it's not just, we're not just doing it as window dressing. It's real. People get paid, and people get a chance to move up, and they have moved up. There's also a music scheme as well for the soundtrack and so on. So it's real, and it's been fantastic to see so many people, talented people, be given the opportunity to come through, and they're all moving off now. Kobe's in South Africa still, I think, doing Noughts and Crosses. Yeah. So people are moving, they're moving up. And all we did was open a door to the talent.
Seat at the table.
Yeah.
Kweku, knowing how hard it can be, and everyone has their own story, I would love you to share with you what this means to this audience, to you, and where you would like to take this opportunity that you've been given.
So I started off on the first Netflix series. And as Ronan said, I was running, and for me that was just like a dream come true, to be around such amazing talent and to be around like-minded people. And
He's lying, but
I'm not referring to Ashley, I'm referring to Kane and all the other people.
he didn't treat me good.
No, to be around such like-minded people and people that looked like myself. I think that's probably the biggest thing that I took away with it. Top Boy is really, apart from, it obviously mentions a lot of things that go on in the real world and that we all don't necessarily hear about and see on a daily basis, but it really is a family community. And that's not just in terms of the cast, but that's also the crew. Everybody's like on the same page. Everybody's so friendly, so warm. It's probably the only set that I've been on, maybe Bulletproof, very similar actually, where I felt comfortable to be who I am.
Yes.
And comfortable in my skin and comfortable in my role. And I felt like I could actually develop my skills and grow.
Yeah. Code switching and everything else. We bend ourselves in ways that many people don't realize just to go through daily life. And to hear you say that on a TV show set is huge. Music, we cannot ignore music. And, Ashley, it would be really good to understand, how the cast members and yourself have had an influence on the music of the show, because that's also shaped a lot of the influence that it has.
If I'm honest, I haven't really had that big of an influence on the music, if I'm honest with you. I think what we definitely try to do is, we have tricky situations where you have people like, we've got there's been Kane, who's obviously a big musician in the show. We had Sculpture in season 1 as well. We had Dave, Santan. So trying to I feel like it's really important that we don't let people see those people as musicians when they're in our show, because I think it takes you out of the world. So we've tried our best to keep their music separate from the show, and also as well not go with the obvious choices that people would expect. I mean, obviously, there's going to be scenes where there's music in the scene. If someone's listening to music, they're playing music in their car, whatever they necessarily be listening to. But if you listen, a lot of the incidental music is not from that side of things. It's not grime. It's not, hip hop or stuff like that. And I think that adds to kind of setting up a different type of world for the show. But like I said, I mean, in the beginning, in all honesty, I think that the right choices have been made by whoever's been making them, but I've never actually sat in the edit and been like, no, change that.
A lot of people presume you were like, nah, I want to hear that.
No, we don't. Kind of, I think it's been up to directors, really.
And music supervisor.
Yeah.
And then filming. So locations, everything is incredibly authentic, and then investment in communities that need that investment. Is that part of the ethos of the filming process where you shoot as well?
Well, I mean, authenticity is key to Top Boy. If you take that away from Top Boy, you're just in another show, But we like to think we're something special, and that authenticity is key. So yeah, I mean, locations are always a challenge. They're always a challenge. But yeah, of course. I mean, the priority is authenticity.
The term even frustrates me, but it is used, gang culture, and how that story is told. And you already touched on it, Ashley, on this show managing to humanize that and not necessarily glorify things that no one wants to glorify. How has that process been in development from the beginning, so 12 years in? And I think a lot of people in the audience, when you think of Top Boy, you're not thinking of gang culture, you're thinking of characters that you can either relate with or you want to know their stories. How did you manage? Because we won't name any shows, but it's almost, I think, impossible, very, very difficult to pull off what you've done for such a long period of time. So where did that lightning in a bottle come, where you are observing this community and people, all of us, are drawn to it in a way that isn't tokenistic?
Well, okay, so I would say that I have to go back to Ireland for this as well. That, when you come from a community that is demonized politically and in the media, and the people from that community are presented as, often as being without any kind of moral center, being killers, being this, that, and you kind of go, but I know who you're talking about, and they also have mothers and fathers and brothers and sisters and friends, and they have dreams and they have ambitions and they have things that they need emotionally and all the rest. I know, you cannot reduce anybody to that level. So I start from that position. I mean, even before I started to write screenplays and was, writing novels, I took those characters and said, there's more to them than the way they're presented.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I started the research for Top Boy for the first Channel 4 season, I spoke to young men. They were nearly all young men on the street, on the road. And I asked them how things worked, because they had to give, I was a complete novice in that territory, and I needed to know how it worked, and they explained it as best, But then I would ask them about themselves. I'd say, what's your home life like? School, girls, football, clothes, trainers. There's a few jokes about, and that was a real, a real revelation for me to hear that trainers were so important in that world. And we made a few jokes in some of the episodes about the fascination for trainers. That was a surprise to me. I also talked to a senior policeman who had worked in Hackney for a long time, but wasn't working in Hackney when I met him. And one of the things he said to me, still in my head all these years later, 10, 12 years later, he said to me, we know people in Hackney buy and sell drugs. And this is a senior policeman. And he said, that doesn't make them bad people. Mm-hmm. And he, what he was saying was this, it comes from, that was a long conversation, but, that there's he stressed the economic factors. Mm-hmm. And I thought, okay, well, if you've got a policeman saying that,
yep.
But even if he hadn't, all he did was sort of justify the approach I was taking. Because when you talk to the kids who are the ones who kind of, if any of you, and I'm sure there's nobody here does it, you want your £10 bag of something or other. The person who brings you that bag, or the person on the street corner or whatever, they have a story, they have a life. Mm. And that was what I wanted to, nobody is just one thing. Nobody is just a dealer. Mm-hmm. Nobody's just a gang member. They're all other things as well. And that was what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And fortunately, it could easily have gone wrong with if your producing partners had been the kind of people who go, no, but we need to show, these are bad people and we need to show them this way. I mean, listen, some of the things that Duchesne does and Sully does, they're not good things by any means, but there's no point in just presenting them as, as stage villains. I mean, sure. They're complicated people with complex emotional and psychological needs, with complex histories. Let's see that on screen, because it makes for a far more entertaining drama, but also it's just far more real. Yeah. And that's what I want. It's the reality, it's the authenticity of the world that I'm interested in.
Thank you. And following on from that, actually, you are in scenes where you're pulling real human emotion out of pretty, horrific things that are going on around you. You've been acting for a long time now. Where do you find that place where you seem to reach into a part of yourself that make all of us on our iPads and on our sofas believe?
If I'm honest with you, I don't know. That's the real answer. Like, it is what it is. And I've not tried to fix that, because obviously it's working.
It's working.
But I'm able to tap into something. I guess with every part I take on, there's a part of me in it, mm-hmm. in some place, and that's what makes it real. Yeah. I guess the illusion of this is, it's an illusion. You guys watching, believing that I am the character that I'm playing. A lot of the time, the stuff you're watching, I lacked confidence. I was insecure on that day, whatever. Like, it's not always get on set and you're the superhero. You know, sometimes you struggle with it. Sometimes you struggle to reach those places, and you actually walk away sometimes feeling like you didn't actually make it. You know, and the director wasn't proud of you on that day, or, you know, that's not going to make the cut, or this and that, or whatever. And actually, some of those things are the things that you guys buy into the most, because you see that vulnerability in me or whatever. So I've never really tried to fix that, but just kind of hitting what Ronan said is, I guess, you know, he's completely right. It's like, all too often, shows that have been like, you know, that are like Top Boy, always set things up for us, you know, and we're given this thing to look at. And I think what Top Boy did was put the camera in with these, you know, the camera becomes another character in the show, and we get to walk the lives of these people, like, beside them. And I think that changed the game and has created a different type of, you know, a different type of show that we wouldn't have seen before. I think a lot of directors or a lot of writers would have approached it from a very sympathetic point of view. Like, you know, these people are really down and it's hard and, you know, life's bad or whatever. But actually, I guess what Ronan did was realize that the lives that the people that we're playing are living, they don't see it as bad as you guys do. You know what I'm saying? There's still a lot of hope in these places for them. So we don't always have to have it gritty, you know, downtrodden drama or whatever. It's like these kids that are growing up in these estates or whatever love playing out with their friends and doing the stuff that they do. And, you know, they kind of aspiring to be these things, bad or not. You know, it makes them happy. They're happy with the lives they got because they don't know any better. And I think Top Boy tries to show that, which gives, you know, just gives them that human tint that you wouldn't usually get.
Yeah, and we feel that in every episode. Araloyin, tell me, you had to learn on the job. I mean, it's not like you had years of experience as an actor, and having someone like Ashley and Kane, you know, on set. Would you say you were, you know, you were pretty much being as much of a sponge, or were you back home when you had time also finding your own process? How did you get around to finding your place as an actor?
I think like with certain scenes and stuff, I think you just like come out naturally. I didn't really think too deep on my acting. I just like did what I could do. Like for example, I just like go to filming, cool, then go home, schoolwork, go to filming. I don't really look at the scene and analyze what I need to do. I just like do what I've been told. Like I listen to director's information. Okay, cool. Change this, change that. I change this, I change that. I don't think of it like too deep. When you think of it too deep, then like it don't become natural. It's not natural. However, like certain scenes though, I can relate to. So then I think of that time. What did I do in that situation? Cool. Then try to replicate it. So I think when I am acting, I do see what they are doing, and I see, okay, cool. How can I replicate it, but make it my own way? So it looks like I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm not copying someone else. So yeah.
Thank you. I think I'm not over-exaggerating by saying that the last 18 months have been pretty tricky for all of us. And, you know, art, culture, film, television is more important than it ever has been. And I wanted to really, you know, go down the line and ask, you know, we've probably all had a moment of self-reflection and doing what we love. What does it mean to you now after the world's gone upside down, that you are, you know, doing what the influence of the show and what you're doing? Has it changed, you know, from this new age of COVID and you know, the BLM movement and everything else that's happened?
Yeah, definitely. To echo what you just said, it means I think we've all realized how much, you know, being able to shut our own lives off and look at other people's, you know, from kind of a different point of view means to us all, and means to our mental health as well. You know, just having that moment to escape, or to understand something else that we wouldn't understand without that medium. But I think you're asking the wrong person in the sense of Top Boy is always like, look, I could post that I've just broken my leg. the comments are going to be when's Top Boy coming. It's just as simple as that. So I cannot go anywhere without anyone asking where the show is. And actually what the pandemic did was push that back. So it's made my life hell. So I can't wait for this next season to just come out, if I'm honest with you. But yeah.
So, back in March 2020, when things kicked off, various people, my agent and others, were saying to me, well, you'll have plenty of free time now to write. And I sat down and tried to write, and I just couldn't write a word. I could not write a word. And it was summed up for me. There was a cartoon, I think it was in the New Yorker, of somebody's in a lifeboat, and there's a ship, a couple of ships sinking in flames and going down, and it's just him in the lifeboat. And the strapline is, I guess now's the time to write that novel. It was actually, as the world seemed to be falling in around us, it wasn't really conducive to, for me anyway, to be right. It took me a good, 3 months at least to get back to even half speed. Looking back on the last year, I still feel that we were pretty fortunate because we actually did get into production, and it was, just a fantastic effort by. I mean, you write it, and then you give it to the cast and crew, and you go and do it, and but we did it, or I shouldn't really say we because I was. They did it. It was done. We have the new season. It's filmed. So that was an achievement. Filming is never easy, but filming in a pandemic is, really quite hard. Yeah. And but it was done. So the last year, it made me. As far as work, as far as what's in your head and what you want to put on the page, it made me think a lot about endings.
Right.
It still seems I find it quite hard to shake off this idea that things are going really well and that the sunlit uplands are just waiting for us. There, everything to me seems to be kind of going really quite badly. Climate, petrol, gas, turkeys, chickens. It all seems to be going quite horribly wrong, and that does enter my head. And at the same time, I'm very aware that people, like Ashley said about, people don't want misery. They don't want to watch misery on screen. Yeah. So even the lives that we depict in Top Boy are tough, but they are also full of love, and they are also full of hope. And occasionally there's humor. People in extremis can often be very funny, and then there's just some of our actors are naturally that way anyway. No. We've got the Lauren and Jack comedy show. In the season, the first Netflix season, when Lauren goes, take a picture of my nails, and I'm Cardi fucking B, and I had no idea who Cardi B was. I mean, come on, I had no idea. And my daughter looked at me. My daughter was probably 19. She looked at me. She said, "How did you know who Cardi B was?" I was thinking, "Who's Cardi B?" So we try to get the humor in, and because nobody wants unremitting bleakness on their screen. But if you're and I consider myself this kind of writer, is that I take inspiration from the world around me. I've politically involved and always have been politically interested. And when you see everything kind of really going not very well, it goes into your head.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Araloyin, I think your generation has had a very hard time for the last 18 months, and I really wanted to say sincerely, it's so happy just seeing you here and thriving, I know it hasn't been easy, and you know, what have you learned from this period outside of Top Boy? What, you know, the last 18 months of COVID and everything. What have you learned? How have you grown?
I think the big thing that I learned was to be grateful with what you have. Because when we went into the pandemic, like 3 months in, I was just at home, just sitting down, PlayStation. But then after that 3 months, and I'm still in the pandemic, I'm thinking, when's this gonna end? Like, I'm bored now. I can't play PlayStation like forever. I can't go outside. I can't do nothing. So then we timed. I'm just like sleeping in my bed, looking at the wall, like nothing to do. So I think it taught me to be grateful with what you have, and like love the people you're with, and spend as much time as you can with them. And I think when I found out that I was going back to filming, I think I was very happy because I was glad to be outside, glad to be back with the people I love, and like glad to be back doing what I love.
What you love.
So I think like COVID definitely taught me like to be grateful with what you have and the opportunities that you get. So yeah.
Thank you. Kweku, how about you?
Similar to Araloyin, I think I'm probably similar to what a lot of other people went through. You know, you sit down at home, all of a sudden you've got all this time on your hands. You know, obviously working in the TV and film industry, it's not a 9 to 5 job by any means. You know, you're spending a lot of time away from family, a lot of time away from home as well, like 14, 15 hours on set. So for me, it was nice to have a break. It sounds really bad to say that, but it was nice to actually sit down and go, like rest and relax and appreciate the shows that are on Netflix and or on other platforms as well. But I think I, at one point, did lose a bit of hope because I was like, when's this going to end? When am I going to be able to get back to doing something that I love? And then obviously when things resurrected and we were able to start shooting, the fact that I was able to be part of the mentee scheme, that gave me a lot of hope and meant that, you know what, regardless of what obstacles you face in life, there's always going to be something at the end of the tunnel that's going to bring you some satisfaction or some peace. So, yeah.
Thank you for that wisdom. Now, there's very little we can say about the next season, but I know I can ask this question to...
But can you?
Oh. What are people going to expect? I've been told that's about as far as I can take it. So, say what you can.
Netflix have a sniper up.
I'm sweating.
What the red light is. Yeah.
Well, listen, the only thing I'd say, and you know, is that when you say what do people expect, well, I try not to give them what they expect. I always try to find a different, you know, surprises for them. I don't mean by making the narrative fantastical in any way at all. Everything has to be real and earned. But I do look at it and I kind of go, what are we, you know, in conventional storytelling terms or character development, how would we be going here? And then I go in the opposite direction. You know, so I try to. So I think there will be surprises. I hope they're. Do you hope for a good surprise, or but you hope it has you hope it'll be worth it for the audience.
Okay. Actually, the whole of TikTok and Instagram is listening right now. Anything you want to share?
I have nothing to add. All I know is that it's coming. You can stop asking me.
You started off at the Beeb and obviously now at Netflix. You know, what has made Netflix the right home for a show like this?
Well, we didn't start. We started off at the BBC in the sense that was they were the ones who commissioned the first script, and then it went into turnaround. You know, the BBC does a fantastic job with with its drama, but you know, I'm so glad in a way that that Top Boy didn't end up there, because they did. You know, we had a couple of meetings, and they were pushing me to take it in another direction.
Okay.
And you know, so thank God they didn't go for it. Channel 4 were much more I mean, they just, they loved the idea. They loved us, and they just said, go and do your thing. And Netflix have given us freedom and the opportunity to tell the story at scale. That squeezing everything into 3 or 4 hours. We did in the traditional mainstream or BBC Channel 4 ITV way. As a storyteller, it means you've got a limited amount of time. You've got to hit the beats. You've got to move on quickly. Whereas with more time, you can invest more in the characters. You can take the time to be with them, with their families, with the people that they love, or with their own emotions. So yes, I mean, Netflix has given us the creative freedom and an amazing platform, obviously, but just the space to tell the story properly.
Actually, this is being recorded, I believe, so a lot more people are going to see this. And I wanted to see if you could help answer the question of, if you're a man or woman who feels like their voice isn't always heard and they want to have a career in the film and television industry, and all that self-doubt that you've talked about is bashing them daily, what words of advice would you give to them as someone that's just been through it?
I'd say in this day and age, I think if you look closely at what's going on and the people that are coming through, it's changing. The usual process of having an agent, and going to casting directors, building up a show reel, all that stuff is like, it's kind of blown out the water at the moment. I feel like you really have to look at yourself and ask yourself, are you doing everything that you can?
Okay.
Are you utilizing everything that is in front of you? I feel like a lot of people at this moment, maybe you want to become an actor, but your path, I bet it doesn't seem to be working for you. It might be a good thing for you to do is to create your own story, tell your own story. If you look at people like Michaela Cole, she was fighting to get into the game for many, many years, and when she started to create her own content and create her own story, that's when things opened up for her, and she was able to run with it from there. And I think that's been the journey for a lot of people. I mean, look, the bottom line is, as far as I'm concerned, for me, 80% of this has been doors shut in my face and people telling me no. It's as simple as that. I had to become really resilient and develop some thick skin.
Yep.
And understand that didn't mean that I was crap.
Yep.
That didn't mean that I was useless. What that meant is that it wasn't my time yet. And I had to wake up the next day and look in the mirror and go, what else can I do? Get that accent better. Perform a monologue to yourself. Do this, do that, whatever. It's one of those difficult things. I cannot physically give someone the blueprint as to how to get in this, because I think everyone's going to get into it different ways.
Their own path, yeah.
My career really kicked off when I went to prison for a firearm, essentially. You know what I mean? That's kind of when the spotlight came on me, and I was me changing that narrative, coming out of prison and turning that around was what people were buying into in the beginning. Like, oh, the guy's just come out of prison, he's done this film or whatever, and I made that work for me. I wouldn't encourage anyone to go to jail.
That's not the idea.
To do this, but you're going to find your own way.
Sorry.
No, just saying, just try and quiet yourself, quiet your inner self. Don't worry about what's going to happen tomorrow or what happened yesterday. Stay present in today. You know what I mean?
Yep. I have to quote my mother, and that's when I knew that Ashley is gone. This must have been probably 10 years ago. And she goes, this boy can act too. This boy can act. I said, I've been telling you, Mum, and I think that's the thing that maybe, humility is your thing. And I think a lot of us, especially in the black community, and I said it earlier that we've grown up with you, but it really, really matters to see people that look like our own, not just doing things that are supposed to be for us, but exec produce, big budget show, huge names like Drake involved. All of those things really, really matter. And I you know, I guess as you climb, you've lifted, as we can see right here with help from Ronan and others in the team. Diversity and inclusivity post the murder of George Floyd seems to be, you know, in the conversation. Top Boy is a lot older.
Well, we were there a long time before, you know. So.
And what does diversity and inclusivity mean to you as a creator of the show? I mean, you know, you please share that.
Well, no, it's absolutely fundamental. It's fundamental. You know, you could. I mean, the very fact that you know this is what I've spent, you know, a large portion of the last 10 years focusing on is, I think, is a testament to that. I mean, what I would say about, you know, the one thing that people who want to get into this industry or people who are in it and still finding their feet, the one positive thing, I guess, is that this is one of the few boom industries around. I mean, television and film production is, you know, there's a lot of it. There's a demand for content that's driving up production. So in front of the camera, behind the camera, writers, producers, all the rest, there's a lot of demand there. However, it's fantastically competitive, and also, you know, sometimes you think that, you know, when you've produced a few good things and you know you've done, you know, you've made money for some people and so on, that you think the next time you go in and say, well, this is the story I want to tell now. They go, well, let's hear it. You know, let's go ahead. Let's do it. It's not like that. It's really not like that. You know, every time you go in, it's like starting
from the beginning.
From the beginning again.
Goodness.
I mean, you have a little bit of a name or a little bit of a reputation, yes, but it's not. You know, I get knocked. You know, I write things that aren't produced, and it's very painful. I mean, really painful. So it's an ongoing struggle, and I don't think very few people manage to get to the point where they go, whatever I write will be produced, or whatever part I go up for, I will get. That just doesn't happen. It's an ongoing struggle, and it's as Ashley says, you know, if you have to develop a thick skin because you're going to get a lot of disappointment along the way.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. That's really wrapping up. I wanted to just finally finish with sort of a last message from all four of you, if you like, to the audience in regards of what Top Boy means to you, and it could be one word or a whole sentence. Starting with you, Kweku, what does Top Boy mean to you?
In one word.
It can be whatever. You can go on a soliloquy. Let's go.
Reality.
Life.
Aye. We need some time to balance. I bet. These guys are hitting us with gems.
I know. I don't know how I'm going to top that. I just feel honored that I've been part of this team. It's been a fantastic journey. It's full of excitement. You learn new things, or I do all the time. So for me, it's been an honor.
Chief. And I'd just say, it's growth for me and for the other cast members. I guess when I say growth, I mean in the sense that, you know, I've grown tremendously throughout this process. I've learned so much. But then seeing people come in the game with no experience, you know, and start there and end up there, for me, has been the best thing, because I know that I've never really been in this for myself. You know, I've always been in it to see that, because the struggle that I had, I don't want everyone to have that same struggle. And I can see it getting easier, you know, slowly but surely. So for me, that's the most important thing. That's what Top Boy means for me.
Thank you. And I'll finish with my words, which are about bloody time. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Thank you.